Hey guys, since I have to be gone yet again, I'm doing a screencast of the mini lesson today. I promise it will be shorter than some of the others, quite frankly, just because the mini lesson today is super short and I want to make sure that you guys have enough time to get writing. Like I said earlier in the week when we met, you are going to start writing the draft of your argument essay today, and we're going to start with the introduction. So I've noticed in much of your writing that a lot of you write your thesis or your claim, and then you're eager to move on to your body paragraphs, and then only later tack on your introduction as kind of a last minute, oh, I have to do this as well, so I'll just get it done now. And I'll be honest, writing introductions is probably my least favorite part of writing. I've always kind of struggled with it, but I think some of the techniques we're going to go through today will really help you set the tone for your essay. So there's just a few things that I want to go over to help, create really strong introductions so that way you feel like your essay is off to a strong start. The good news is that today is just the start of your drafting day, and ultimately, if you write something today and you're just not happy with it or you don't like the way that it sounds, today is a good day to scratch it, to start over, to delete it, whatever it is. Don't feel like you have to stick with it. I'd rather you make those changes now than waiting until you're trying to finalize your final draft to fix some of those mistakes. So don't feel like you're stuck using what you write today for the rest of the entire time we're going to spend on this essay. So unfortunately, I don't have a ton for you today, but there's a few things that I do want to go over. When you open your Bend 2 document, you will see and scroll to session, actually, I think it's session 7. You'll see that these three words are outlined in the Bend 2 doc. Sorry, I think it's session 8. Yeah, session 8 is introductions. You'll see the three words fair, strategic, and clear. What I want you to do before I even say anything is go ahead and pause this screencast, and in your own words, I want you to write down what you think it means to be fair, strategic, and clear in thinking about writing. So how do argument writers stay fair? How do argument writers stay strategic? And how do argument writers stay clear? If you're not sure what strategic means, think of strategy. Strategy is usually like some sort of a game plan. You have a goal in mind and you know how you're going to reach it. Okay? So go ahead and pause the screencast and jot down a few notes in your Bend 2 doc under session 8, what you think argument writers look like when they're fair, strategic, and clear. Okay? Pause and go ahead and jot down a few things, and when you're ready, you can come back to this screencast. So you should have a few things written down now in your doc or your Bend 2 documents about fair, strategic, and clear. And I just kind of want to go over what I think of when I see those three words. So argument writers need to be fair because they can't just launch into their claim without giving any sense of the issue or the debates surrounding the issue, or even the different perspectives involved. People from all over the world think differently about certain issues. So we have to acknowledge those sides. The same way that we needed to be fair when we were debating in person, verbally, this is the same way we need to approach our writing. So as a writer, it might be helpful to provide some of the backstory on the issue and the debates surrounding your claim so the reader kind of gets the big picture and has a sense of what's coming. If you just start with everybody in the United States should get a raise and the minimum wage should go up, and you don't really go into, any sort of context or backstory of why is our current minimum wage only $7.25? How often does it get adjusted? When was the last time it was adjusted? What would $15 an hour look like? You don't necessarily need to give tons of evidence or data because you want to save that stuff for your body paragraphs. But I think it's important to at least give your readers some context so they don't feel lost right away when they start reading your paper. So being fair by acknowledging other perspectives, maybe giving a little backstory on the issue, and acknowledging both sides of the issue. When I think of writers being strategic, I think it's just all about having an outline and an end goal in mind for what you want to accomplish with your writing. These are argument papers. So essentially, we're trying to persuade people who maybe don't agree with us or don't really have an opinion. We're trying to persuade them to think like we do. So we want them to agree with us. We want them to see our points. And so we have to be really strategic in how we present information and how we talk to these readers with the information that we're presenting. So we need to write with our introduction with that in mind. So you might want to emphasize points that you expect the other side will make, already starting to kind of take them down a little lightly, even just in your introduction. When I see strategic, I also think of the really cheesy commercial we watched the other day in class. If you caught how the mom talked about the cost of chocolate milk, she knew she couldn't say that the cost of a gallon of chocolate milk was, $2.50 because that's pretty high compared to the cost of regular milk. So she had to be really strategic in how she talked about the cost. So in order to make it sound cheap and affordable for everybody, she changed it to, a glass of chocolate milk only costs 25 cents. That sounds better than saying $2.50. Okay, so think about, am I presenting evidence that's doing the work for me? If you present evidence and it ends up going against what you're trying to say, you're actually kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So think about, is this evidence strong? Does it really support what I'm trying to say? Does it lend itself to where I'm going in this paragraph? Okay. So when you're being strategic in your introduction, you really need to forecast your reasons, right? My claim is correct because blank, blank, and blank. Those three reasons become body paragraphs. That's having a strategy. Argument writers being clear is just letting your readers know exactly what the paper is going to argue by stating a claim that is clear and easy to understand, making sure that it's strong and precise. I don't care where your claim comes. It can be your second sentence, it can be your last sentence of your introduction. Somewhere in there, I need to see a very clear and concise claim so I know where you fall on the issue. It's one thing to acknowledge both sides, it's another thing to be wishy-washy and for your reader to be like, man, I just don't know where this person stands. So make sure that you're being really clear with, how you're stating your claim. The minimum wage in the United States needs to be increased to $15 an hour starting January 1st, 2018. Clear, concise, right to the point. My readers know exactly what I'm arguing. So hopefully you have something like this in your notes. If you need to add to it, you're more than welcome to. This anchor chart is hanging up on the whiteboard. These are some ways that you can introduce your argument. So please use these sentence starters. However, I'm really angry that this anchor chart has I statements on it. Okay? So when you're setting out to write today, and you're going to start with your introduction, just be conscious of how am I going to begin, and I made an oops by putting I's on here. I don't want to say, or I don't want you to say, I believe, I think, my opinion. I am writing to tell you. Okay, let's get rid of that. A lot of these sentence starters were the same ones that we use for your competitive sports essays. So if you need to go back to that outline to use those sentence starters, you certainly can. Just a heads up as to what the rest of the class is going to look like. The sub will hand out a sample introduction that looks like this. What I would like you to do is read it to yourself and then talk with a partner or the people at your table and talk about, is this introduction fair, strategic, and clear? Okay, so you'll talk as a small group, and then I believe the sub will pull you as a whole group to now discuss. So is this fair, is it strategic, and is it clear? If it's not in all three areas, then talk about what could make it a little bit stronger. I wrote this super late last night, so I'm going to be honest, it's not my best piece of writing, but I think there's some good things in here, and I think there's some things that could be changed. If you would like to use this sample introduction as kind of a model for how you write yours, you are more than welcome to. So the little half slip of paper that the sub hands out, if you want to keep that by your computer as you're writing today, you certainly can. So think about again, look at it and figure out, how did the writer of this introduction make those moves? What could they have done better? And think about how you can use, this model or any of these sentence starters to begin your essay. Okay. After you've had small group discussion, the sub has brought you to a whole group discussion, then it will be work time. I'm guessing you'll have a good amount of work time today, maybe like 45 minutes. So what I need you to do is write your introduction paragraph and then work on your first body paragraph. Both are going to be due when I see you next, because we're going to move on to the next body paragraph. So go to Google Classroom and you'll see that there's a rough draft document posted. Okay, there's directions on there. There's all kinds of resources. Some I provide the sentences for you, and some you just have to fill in the blanks for. So please don't delete what's there. I want you to use that. So when it comes time to draft, don't just start from scratch. Use what I'm giving you. We'll worry about piecing it all together to look like paragraphs, later on. Right now, I just want you finishing some of those sentences, really figuring out, okay, what's my first reason and what pieces of evidence do I have to support it? How am I going to fit that all together in this one paragraph? Okay. If you have an honors pass and the sub lets you work elsewhere, try to come back at maybe 15 minutes left in class. The sub's going to go over the checklist for body paragraphs, which is right in your rough draft document. I just want everyone to be clear on what those body paragraphs need to look like, and so I want everyone to hear that from the sub. You need to follow those numbers. That means 8 sentences in each body paragraph. So don't skip anything, and again, don't delete anything from the rough draft document. Okay. I don't know if I'll be available by email, but you can try to email or chat me, and I will try to respond if you have any issues. Ms. Korsmo has prepped this hour, so if the sub or you need anything and can't seem to answer it, I've asked for Korsmo to kind of help out, so feel free to peep next door and you can ask her any questions as well. Otherwise, what I need you to do is have a very solid, productive work period. I know it's Friday, but I want these paragraphs done. Introduction paragraph, first body paragraph. I'm going to be looking at them over the weekend, so please use this time. Okay? Have a great class period, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.